5.5 lengths of the lead right in through here. And now he will just absolutely put on the brakes, Rick, and wind up just completely out of it, dead last. If he had run it all after, and we can get out of this now if you like, there isn't much to see from that point on. But, you know, I wanted to show the break just because he took really good early money that day in a really good race. Brad's Time, He's a Bomb, Mega Tap. That was a really good maiden special weight race. And he took some serious early money that day before drifting up to 8-1, broke slowly and swerved out, only ran for maybe a quarter of a mile, if that. I think he could run better today, but I still couldn't avoid picking Cool Power.
Yeah, the thing about Street Voss also, he's had 3 good works since that race, too, which, you know, obviously I really like dropping from maiden special weight into a maiden claimer. That's another thing to really like. I went back and looked at the horses that came out of the Brad's Times race, and every single one of them came back on turf except Brad's Time and Street Voss. Every other horse came back in one of our turf races, which is really unusual. So, in other words, it was tough to really get a good feel, other than we know Brad's Time looks like he's going to be, you know, a pretty nice horse.
Sure, and He's a Bomb was a really good pick by you the next time out. He's in italics because you picked him the next time out, and he won on turf.
Yeah, won a turf sprint. The 4 Cool Power, though, I mean, Jim and I landed on this. I laid this colt even money, finished second twice at Delta. Those are 2-turn races for those not familiar with that oval. Really nice races. They added blinkers, shipped up here to Lone Star Park, tried 2 turns on turf. Caught a pretty, you know, solid field of maiden allowance horses, led for better than 6 furlongs, and faded late. I like the fact that this horse in the local breezes worked very fast here at Lone Star Park, so I'm not that concerned that he'd been running around 2 turns for his first 3 starts. So they're off the big drop in class. I think Cool Power's, you know, going to be tough to beat in here. Boss Moon is a Malibu Moon, so I like that. Bred to be pretty precocious horse. They've gelded him. His works have been good, a 48-4, a 48-2, before in really easy gate work in company on June 19th. So I think they had him fit and ready to go. Just needed to get him, you know, his gate work in company. So I think Boss Moon might be able to run a really nice race today.
Yeah, you know, I didn't work him into the picks, but I can definitely see that. I've got Cool Power as well. I mean, very obvious selection over Street Voss. My third pick here is a little bit off the board, the 7 Bentley, who's been off since October of 2019. That's a really, really long time off. He's an Oklahoma bred. I think I was just kind of looking for a new face. Matt Hebert does well with horses first time, and he does well with horses coming off layoffs, and I just didn't think the rest of them could end up being filtered off and way back unless your firster runs well. So I just went with Bentley on the strength of the connections. One thing I will point out, unfortunately, Lane Leslie was injured yesterday. A horse came over on him and clipped heels, and he went down, and he won't be riding. So we'll have jockey changes displayed on the screen, and we'll announce them for you. But Leslie will not be able to ride Cool Power in this race. On to the 4th. Scratch the 3 Madeline's Wild Max. 4th race, $4,000 claimers, going 5 furlongs.
Yeah, and before mentioned, Matt Hebert has the horse I picked in here, the 6 Good Judgment, who has a terrific record at Lone Star Park, been in the exact in 4 of 7 races. Likes a fast track, has won 5 of 11 there. You can see his form against much better, is very good. So his A-race wins. Now, will he bring his A-race? His first start for Hebert was in a restricted stake on June 13th, and he really didn't run very much that day, but the field was exceptional.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, direct dial, Mr. Moneybags, Can I Bob? That's as good as it gets here at Lone Star Park. So a major excuse there. And also, he tends to break sharp. I mean, every one of the races, he breaks in the top 3 every time, and he didn't even break very sharply, plus being overmatched. The concern is you claim for 15, you run a bad race, gets better, and you drop all the way to 5.
Yeah, well, and true. And even from the Spirit of Texas, when he was back there with Asmussen, then he dropped him for 15, too. So, I mean, he's been dropping for more than just Matt Hebert, which is why I picked against him.
Oh, okay. So that is the concern. But he's the best horse in the race. Yeah. It just comes down to, his condition today. 4 Navy times. ships up from Evangeline Downs. I mean, this is his distance. He's won back-to-back races by 2 clear lengths. Again, at Evangeline, comes from slightly off the pace, a really good running style for, again, top connections. Buyer figures are par for what it takes to usually win a Lone Star Park $4,000 claiming race. The 2-horse Speedy Dansmere for Gustafson, he also ran kind of a not a really good race for him, but the previous 3 races were really good. 2 wins, a second. Buyer figures at that par classification. He's got good early speed. He's always in the hunt, turning for home. And again, Gustafson Cabrera. It doesn't get much better than that here at Lone Star.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting race. I totally agree about good judgment. I mean, this is going to be a good distance for him. He hasn't done much running at these abbreviated distances, but he obviously likes it. He's quick. I just wonder about the drops, and I was fishing around for maybe a little bit better price for a Broberg trainee. That's why I went with Navy Times. He's been consistent. I went back and watched that Evangeline race in the slop. That was a pretty good race. You know, it always seems like, and I know this isn't necessarily the case, but these Evangeline and Louisiana Down shippers, they never seem to face very big fields over there. I know they run big fields. I mean, he did face a 12-horse field 3 races back. You know, he hasn't been beaten much in terms of numbers there, but I think he's done it reasonably well. I'm going to give him a shot. Good judgment. The drops bother me. I mean, it bothered me that he seemed to run a decent 6th in the Spirit of Texas. Then they put him in for 15, and he got claimed away from Asmussen. And then, you know, he subsequently got claimed from J.R. Caldwell. I don't know. He, like you say, he's the best. He may very well run, you know, the best race. But I took him second here. And Tale of a Storm, who comes out of a decent race behind All the Way with Tay. It's interesting. All the Way with Tay is kind of a through line because Speedy Dansmere comes out of the All the Way with Tay race as well. And also Jack with 7. They all come out of that same race. But nonetheless.
Yeah, good judgment. Looks like a good claim because for the first time in his life, he'll be starter eligible. Those starter 5s, which they run everywhere in America, and the purses are usually pretty good.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, so Matt's probably hoping no one claims him today, but someone will. I mean, this is too obvious of a claim because you're not risking much, and you could have a nice starter horse for, you know, a year.
True. On to the 5th. Texas bred maiden fillies. Down here at the bottom level, scratch the 8, Lily Get Your Gun, who, you know, I didn't know what to do with her last time. And, you know, and I think she scratched previously a week or so ago, and she scratches today. Didn't know what to do with her again today. I picked her second today. But, you know, I see you're going with a little bit of a price here, perhaps.
Yeah, I took my 3rd choice. Now it would be my 2nd choice since with the scratch of the 8. Adele's Bling. I decided to roll the dice with her. I just like in 3 starts she's gotten better with every race. Got beat 13 lengths, 9 lengths. Last time out at 5.5, showed good early speed. Was finished 3rd that day. And she finally is in a field that has almost no, you know, early speed. I know there's a couple front runners, but their pace figures are really slow. So I think from the rail, if she breaks sharp, this might be her first and only chance to get clear in a race. So that's why I actually thought, man, this might be an opportunity to take Adele's Bling, and I did. My Baby's Gone, I made the favorite. The highest figures in the race, buyer figures I'm talking about, was beaten only a neck at a similar condition at Houston. Last time out, tried Maiden Special Weight Company. Obviously, that field was far too good. The downside, I guess, if you're trying to beat her like I am, is that she hasn't raced since January. And the last 2 workouts, you know, 104 and 3, 104 and 2, not a lot there. Does add blinkers, which is a good percentage move for Diodoro. I just figured off the big drop in class, 2 slow workouts, hasn't raced since January. And again, this is bottom level maiden claimers. This is the level where, you know, more upsets are had than at any other level. So I'm taking a slight upsetter now. The 7 Pixie, good, you know, she has tactical speed. She should get a perfect trip. She drew outside the 1, so she should just get a dream out there. I like the switch to Cabrera. You know, he's one of my favorite riders here. And a cut back in distance. She's been running 7.5, 7 furlongs, now cuts back to 5. That should be perfect for Pixie.
Yeah, I just typically have had a hard time picking her, but yeah, I agree. I went with the favorite here. I like the blinkers on angle, and it's true she's making a big drop, but she did run a pretty good race at 7,500 once before in the maiden ranks back in January at Houston. So it's always suspicious, or more suspicious to me, when they take that big cataclysmic drop the first time. In this case, she's already toiled down there and ran pretty well at this level before. Happy Sailor, the filly that won that race that she was 7-2 in on January 21st, had a really good winner down in Houston, and is a pretty nice Texas-bred filly. I'm just going to give her the slight edge. I don't like the price, but I really am not enamored of Adele's Bling either, but she's my second pick. My third pick is the 3 Cibolo Sally. Eduardo Cruz has fired with some firsters before. And, you know, this filly has very pedestrian workouts, but she's a new face. And I was looking for a new face. If a zebra had been in this race that was a new face, I might have gone with her as a third pick, just to mix it up a little.
Yeah, you could have picked Sounds Like a Winner. Then I'd have been really impressed with your, imagination.
There you go. Yeah,
but
no,
you didn't want to go that far.
I was looking for a new face.
No, and you picked maybe the right one.
So we'll see.
Yeah, because Adele's Bling, there's not much confidence in that one. I just wanted to try to beat My Baby's Gone, which might be silly.
Well, and I'll say this: Constitution Girl has proven to be a really game filly at these lower levels. And she won that last race, and she's a hunk to come back and win her next race.
Yep.
Texas Mama has won a couple of races. I mean, she's been in some decent races for the level. I don't pay much attention to the late time form pace fig. But her 25 scares me a little. That's a really low. I don't know what it means, but that's a low number.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's averages the last three or the last race. That's something I should find out one day.
I have no idea.
But with the blinkers on, My Baby's Gone. Let's say she outbreaks the one. That's probably over at that point.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like you say, those races are hard to predict.
Yep.
I mean, not hard to predict, but they're less likely to repeat their form. On to the 6th. A few scratches out of here. Oh, by the way, before we get too far removed from it, Helen's been nice enough to give us some jockey changes for Luzzy. In the Good Judgment race, David Cohen's going to ride Good Judgment. And in that race we just talked about, there was not a Luzzy mount. So we'll fill you in on the others as we go along. Race 6, scratched both parts of the entry. 1 and 1A are out, as well as the 7 Blue Ridge Moon and the 11 Pure Silk. Maiden special weight fillies on the turf.
Yeah, I took my third choice on the line again in this one, the 4 Grand Mana for Steve Asmussen, who comes off a turf sprint I really like. This horse was bet down to 8-5, was forwardly placed, made a mild gain. I mean, that looked like a perfect sprint tune-up to me. You see Tappet at the top, Victory Gallop at the bottom, which, doesn't show turf, but it shows stamina. And to me, she's already proven she'll handle turf. So I thought this was a stretch out that might work out well. The 2 Reliant, we see horses like this all the time. They do win their share of races, but they are always overbet. Finished second in 4 or 5 races. Finished a close third the other time for trainer Greg Green, a new face to Lone Star, and he's had a really good season. So, again, obvious, first-time turf at a mile, finishes second, comes back, same conditions, same distance, same surface. So, Reliant, I think, will go favorite, or Aaron's Creation. Very difficult to separate these two. They hit the wire pretty close together. Reliant had to alter course a bit in the stretch, but Aaron's Creation, had the wider trip. Adds blinkers for Diodoro, which we mentioned is a high percentage move for him. Did prove at Remington that, she's a bit of a stayer. Ran really well. But like Reliant, she's had 3 opportunities, it looks like, to win and has yet to forge past the horse in front. Yeah. So I just thought maybe a fresh face, like you had mentioned earlier, might be the way to go.
Yeah. For sure. I did go with Aaron's Creation. I thought she probably needed that last race, and she did get disqualified for drifting in and placed 4th after finishing 3rd. I'm going to give her another shot. Again, this is a pretty mixed bag. I went with Reliant as a second pick just because being a little more proven at the distance, but Blame the Red Cat is the X factor for me. I mean, I think that she showed pretty good speed when stretched out on the turf last time in the race with Reliant and Aaron's Creation. Wound up fading to 6th. Gets a different rider this time. And I think Jose Alvarez is a bit of a hustling type. aggressive type rider, so she could very well be forwardly placed again and might be hard to catch. So I went with her third over Grand Mana, but certainly wouldn't surprise me to see Grand Mana run really well as an Asmussen devotee that I am, and I tend to pick him a lot. Neither of us went for Lemon Drop Teeny. We both went off the gangplank with Lemon Drop Teeny just last week, and I'm off her bandwagon for this.
Yeah, well, you at least picked the winner, I believe, in that race.
No, I
Shandy
didn't.
Konani. Oh, you went for this same
I went
filly?
with her too. Yeah.
We went for 0 for 18
We
over
both
a logical horse.
We Thelma and Louised it right off the cliff.
Oh my gosh!
On we go to the 7th. Allowance event here at 1 mile, scratch the 6, Victory Boulevard. A jockey change in here, the 5, Arrow Street, will be David Cohen.
Yeah, the 7 Nomadic Fighter. I mean, talk about an improving colt. That's one of the things I like about him. I mean, every race has been better than the previous race. He's only had 4 starts in his career. Beats maiden allowance foes here at this distance, just 2 starts back. Then they went into this entry-level allowance condition and caught a field, of some really seasoned, tough, hard-knocking horses, unlike this field, which is a little more lightly raced types. Finished second, though, to Bandit Swanson, who we know freaked that day. I mean, that was just a phenomenally fast race. And Bandit Swanson did come back, but switched surfaces when he ran. I think it was just yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, anyway, off the improving form for this colt, I'm going to take Nomadic Fighter back. Rocking a hard place for Broberg. Certainly has the competitive figures you want. His last start, he was beaten only 1 length right here at Lone Star Park on the main track. And then his subsequent starts in June, just 7 days apart, 2 of them. Well, we're decent tries on turf, but it looks to me like he's probably better on the main track. He did pop a huge number over the winter at Houston. So, yeah, his best race can certainly win. And Dino's Cape is another one who had a 7-length win here at Lone Star Park in a condition claiming race back in May. Since then, he finished 4th or 2 positions behind Nomadic Fighter on June 13th. But he looks like he's less apt to improve than Nomadic Fighter since he's had a lot more races.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went with an upsetter in here. Nomadic Fighter, tremendous respect for him. I mean, he ran huge at 18-1 in that Bandit Swanson race. It's just interesting that obviously he prefers Lone Star Park over the competition he faced at Hot Springs and Fairgrounds. I just wonder if he can repeat. So I'm going with the 3 Jack the Ripper. You'd think this horse, they probably brought this horse over here. I would imagine that Michael Stidham, when he got this horse, or when they brought this horse over here for the Laurel Futurity, probably thought they had a future on the turf. He's run decently on the turf, but I think he's better on the main track. I mean, he's run 2 really good main track races here. Non-winners of 2, stepped up. Non-winners of 3. They put him back on the turf. He ran into the newscaster who really freaked out on the front end that day and ran a really strong race. And then came back and ran a pretty good race yesterday as well. Or I think it was yesterday. Mm-hmm. But I'm going back with Jack the Ripper, hoping that he might be able to get a little bit loose on the lead. I mean, you think he might be able to get the lead by himself, possibly.
Yeah.
So I'm taking him, just taking a little bit of a shot, trying to get Broberg at a price. Nomadic Fighter is my second pick. Rocking a hard place. I think is back on his best surface after 2 turf tries. I wonder if that May 28th race is the race we should key on. If he runs that race, he could win this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 90 that he ran at Houston in March, I wrote One Hit Wonder. I mean, he's never come close to duplicating that.
Yeah, it was 11 lengths back to third. I remember checking that number out, hoping, someone didn't make an error. And it was legit for that day, but I would never bet he runs that number again. It was just one of those fluky situations.
A very old reference for somebody our age. That was Bob Beeman's long jump right there. I mean, Bob Beeman was a great athlete. I met him and interviewed him in later years, but he jumped so far in Mexico City in the 68 Olympics that it took a better part of 40 years for that long jump record to be broken.
Yep.
Doesn't hurt that Mexico City was rather high altitude. I don't know if that helps a human being fly through the air at 7,500 foot altitude, but it can't hurt.
No.
On to the 8th. This 6 furlongs here, $5,000 condition claimers.
Yeah, and it looked like one of the conditions horses haven't won since 2019 because a couple of your contenders, it's been a while, like the 8 Sing and Cry in Dubai.
Yeah.
I mean, second in back-to-back races. He has been a beaten favorite in 4 consecutive races. I know that's a pause for concern. Just looking at his body of work and as sharpy as he is right now, he's going to win really soon, and I think it'll be today. But again, if you don't like a horse that, keeps getting close and not winning, and sometimes I take stands against those horses. I don't generally like them either. But in this case, I'm taking this horse again today. The 3 in here, Is a Daddy, is my next selection. He only finished ahead behind Sing and Crying Dubai last time out. He was 3-1, so he took a lot of money to possibly beat that same rival that time. Previous sprint race was in Hot Springs. Once again, a fast closing second. Doesn't have any early speed, so this 8-year-old, don't expect him to be up in the fray, but he does, when he's right, possess a really strong late run. So Is a Daddy's the late thread in here. The 5, Westfest, hasn't won again since 2019 either. That's his, that's the problem with him. But last time out, he won a mile at this same condition, led for 6 furlongs, and dug in fine. I mean, he finished third. That was a solid performance. His sprint record is okay. He's won 2 out of 14. But again, he's got competitive numbers, 4th start of the season for Top Connections.
Yeah, he's an interesting case. I mean, you look at some numbers on his PPs, and you think, holy cow! I mean, he's made $218,000. He's run a career best 96 Beyer. Who knows when that was? He's 8 years old. It could have been a long time ago. On the other hand, boy, like you say, you can find his last win. It was December 1st of 18. It's right down here toward the bottom of the PPs. But I'm always singing Crying Dubai as well. I mean, I'm not a big fan of non-sprinters sprinting, even if they show speed. But he obviously ran a really nice race, that optimal race last time. I really like the comment grudgingly because that's what it was. I mean, he really did dig in, I thought, that day. I'm going to go, and he also was running on just 3 days rest that day. Now he's had a couple of weeks to freshen up. I got him over Is a Daddy, who loves to pick up checks. He wins from time to time. And I went with the 4, the Runaway Rocket, that Fair Meadows Forum we talked about came back and connected at 26-1 for him last time. The reason I throw the Runaway Rocket in there is just that he has, for this group, pretty blinding speeds. I like to have somebody out there winging in my picks underneath the top.
And that was a really good work because I made a note on that work, but the work came after I had already done the line for this race. I'm not. I think
8 to 1. 26th work?
Yeah, I'm happy with I'm happy with that. But Ori breezed since maybe yesterday. I'm not sure, but I know this last work for the Runaway Rocket was really sharp.
The June 26th
It
work?
must have been.
Because he also had a bullet on June 19th.
Right.
And he's come back and worked a hole in the wind, quite literally, 3 times since that really nice, fast win here.
He might love this track, just looking at his one race and his works. I mean, yeah, he's an interesting horse.
He's going to be fast. One thing I've learned from you is, put me in front. Now maybe not against these older guys that know what they're doing, but some of these cheaper races, give me the lead and let somebody get past me. On we go to the 9th. Now, these are fascinating races, these 7.5 furlong turf races for maiden 2-year-olds when they first stretch out, because they get to that top of the stretch, and it's anything goes at that point.
Yeah, we had weird circumstance with Turquesa, who most everybody picked 6-5 for her career debut. She's a gun runner out of a nice mare. Who was bred for turf, Temptress, I'm talking about the mare. Yeah. So I like the turf.
Yep.
But in her career debut, I saw her one time, and I thought, wow, she reaches out beautifully. I mean, it looks like she's another one of these gun runners that's going to run first time out. But she didn't have a gate work. So the day before that debut, they had to break her from the gate, and I think they made the mistake. Instead of letting her breeze in 24-4, they tried to wrestle with her from the start. You can see the 26-3. I saw the work. Her head was straight up in the air. They were basically strangling her, not wanting her to do too much. I think it kind of messed with her a little bit.
She ran like that in the real race. She got out okay, but the horse was kind of getting over a little bit on her, no big deal, and she got dirt in her face and just kind of like didn't run.
Yeah, I really feel like
no
that.
real trouble, just You know.
Yeah, I mean, I could see someone off that last race saying, I'm going to bet against it. I never blame anyone for betting against a favorite. I just feel like we didn't see her at all, and I think that she's bred to turf. So I just feel like we're going to see the real Turquesa today. The 8-horse, My Friend Amy, very logical horse, ran a terrific career debut, finished up well to be beaten only one length, came back with another third-place finish. She's on the stretch out, certainly bred to go 2 turns, and has the benefit of 2 races, which, again, is very important at this level for young horses. And basic, you see Scat Daddy on the dam side. I love that. And then Animal Kingdom was a super, really good turf horse before, switching to the dirt and winning the Derby. But he was really good on turf before then. Broke poorly in her career debut, and as you can see, rallied from 10th to 4th. With that pedigree, I easily see her improving quite a bit for Greg Green.
Oh, I totally agree. In fact, I have her second over My Friend Amy, who was on her left lead all the way through the stretch last time out. That's not a huge plus for me, but a lot of respect for her. It's interesting. She's the first foal from her dam. If you go back other generations on that female side, they're all French mares. I mean, there's a lot of European breeding in My Friend Amy. I don't know if it'll matter on the turf, but it might. Turquesa, half-sister to Tenfold. Her great-grandmother on her dam side was an Eclipse Award-winning champion grass mare, possibly Perfect, who was just awesome. I mean, back in the mid-'90s, I think. So,
Right.
yeah, she's you got to go up a little bit, up a few generations in the pedigree, up above Temptress, a couple of lines, but Eclipse Award winners, they don't grow on trees. You go from Temptress to a mare named Perfect Cause, who was produced by Possibly Perfect, who was the Eclipse Award winner back in 1995. So, and she won a roster of races that is really quite impressive back then.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how she runs today because I know how she trained, and that race was not indicative of the filly I saw. But, horses are fragile, so you never know. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. Good point about working the day before, especially with the insight that they didn't really just let her go.
They didn't. So
on we go to the 10th. Interesting late double with 2-year-old races. That's interesting. 2-year-old fillies on top of that. These are on the main track, though. Scratch the one, Renee Nay. One more thing, though, before we leave. If you are a fan of Wilburn's Classy Lady, and she has one of those very low time form late pace figures in the 9th race, but she'll be ridden by David Cabrera for Danny Pish in the 9th. Wilburn's Classy Lady. I've got her as a 4th pick. She hasn't shown anything in 2 sprints except the ability to drop about 15 lengths off the lead. So, Danny Pish may have a closer there. Who knows? He at least has a filly with no early speed. On to the 10th. Back to a more conventional 2-year-old race here.
Yeah, I think that the 3 Summer Cat, I think I made her 3-1, which is an unusually high favorite because it looks like that type of race to me. Summer Cat, I think Terry Eoff won the 2-year-old race yesterday.
Well, he won it and he ran second.
Yeah.
The entry mates, they looked like they brushed a little in the upper stretch, and they both whooshed on the outside and ran 1-2.
And like the 2 that ran yesterday, this one was 18-1 and ran a winning race. I mean, he ran a terrific race, or she did in her career debut. The only work that tipped her hand was a 35-1 gate work, and again, a lot of horses can go 35-1 if you just ask them to, but a terrific debut, finishing second off that race. If she has typical second out improvement, then she's going to be tough to beat. I thought Brett Calhoun's filly was interesting. She tried a turf sprint at Keeneland. Obviously, just the fact she was at Keeneland tells you they must have thought, pretty highly of her. Went to Churchill Downs, went to the main track because the turf race wasn't very good, and she dueled for the lead, beaten only 1 length. That was her first start in blinkers. Ships from Churchill to Lone Star Park. Gets Lasix for the first time. We know she has good early speed. Very obvious contender to me. And the 6, Roland Chrome, I made 20-1 on the line, even though I'm picking this filly 3rd. And my rationale is she comes off, one of the more talented 2-year-old races I've seen in a few years here at Lone Star Park. Wicked Halo went and finished a very strong 3rd in the debutante after going 21 flat. Smash Ticket, I think, has a really bright future. A whole lot of Mo came back to win really nicely. It looks like a dynamite field, and the fact that she ran with those, for the first 2 calls, I've just seen a lot of upset horses. If they can show that kind of speed, they back way out of it. If they can get a clear lead the next time and relax a little better, they can shock the world. So, Roland Chrome, I just feel like this is a filly you've got to use somewhere because the price is going to warrant such.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's come back and it looks like worked a decent half mile since. I went with Promptly Done. I mean, I'm a sucker for these Kentucky shippers, and she did. In my opinion, watching that last race, it says shut off. I'm not going to argue with the Kentucky chart callers.
Everyone else does.
Well, I occasionally get paid though by Equibase, so I'm going to be polite. I just thought she broke slowly. I mean, she lost her path, but like a quarter horse that breaks slowly and then loses her path. I mean, if she broke a little better, I think shut off is you get out, you get shut off. She just broke slow and somebody came over in front of her. But still, the slow braking was not particularly exciting. But nonetheless, I'm a sucker for her, so I took her over Summer Cat. That was a weird race she ran because she had some issues, when she got shuffled there. If you watch it on the pan, it looks like, oh, that's some trouble. When you watch it on the tower cam, it looked like no big deal. So I don't know which set of my eyes to believe. And then I took the 8 Lots of Gold as a third pick. I fell for the 5-ace workout, albeit a slow one for Diodoro. One thing I'll point out about Hillstone Martini, this is Turquesa's situation again. They didn't have a gate work for her. So they worked Hillstone Martini on July 1st, so not quite as close to the race, 2 days out. 25.4 breezing out of the gate for Hillstone Martini, the 2. I still don't really like her drawn inside with very little workout history, but it's interesting that Steve has a New Mexico bred. I bet back in the day, the Asmussens got a lot of New Mexico breds.
Yep.
Nowadays, you don't see it quite so much.
Probably. Yeah, and Hillstone Martini's bred to be super fast. So, you can never tell with one like this. Steve's been winning this year with horses with only 3/8 breezes. You know what I mean? With the 2-year-olds especially. So it's a tough read. My guess is if the horse is 5-2, you got a big chance. If it's dead on the board, then maybe not.
Yeah. Couple notes before we leave. 6-shooter on races 5 through 10. The 6-shooter carry over $13,060. There's no high five on the first race because of the field size, so the high five carryover goes to the 10th race, $8,441. We hope Lane Leslie is doing well. He got injured yesterday in a spill, so we'll announce jockey changes for him. We understand Alfredo Contreras is also off his mounts today. And meanwhile, happy 4th to you, Rick, and we will do it all again tomorrow.
Sure will.
Thanks a lot for joining us, and good luck on this 3rd of July.